Discussion on verses 1 to 96 of 96. This chapter opens by a warning of the inevitability of the Day of Judgment. Chapter 56 Al-Waqi'ah, verses 1 to 2.
When the occurrence occurs, there is, at its occurrence, no denial.
Denying the possibility of human resurrection on the Day of Judgment is an extraordinary claim, especially when the created world is filled with countless signs of life emerging from what appears to be death. Allah, the Exalted, has embedded patterns of resurrection throughout creation, displaying them repeatedly across days, seasons, and generations. These signs are so abundant and so consistent that only those who refuse to reflect remain unconvinced. Rain falls upon barren land, reviving soil that seemed utterly lifeless. Dormant seeds, dry, hard, and apparently dead, absorb water, swell, and burst open, producing vegetation that sustains the creation. If Allah, the Exalted, can revive a seed buried in the earth, then resurrecting the human being, who is likewise placed into the ground, is no more difficult for the one who created both. The cycle of the seasons provides another powerful testimony. In winter, trees stand bare and lifeless, their branches stripped of color and vitality. Yet with the arrival of spring, they awaken. Leaves unfurl, flowers bloom, and entire landscapes that once appeared dead become vibrant with life. This transformation repeats year after year, silently proclaiming the reality of resurrection. Even within the human body, resurrection is a continuous process. Skin cells, blood cells, and countless other tissues die and are replaced every moment. The body is in a perpetual state of renewal, though people rarely pause to consider the profound implications of this ongoing transformation. A caterpillar enters a cocoon in a state resembling death, only to emerge as a butterfly, completely transformed, as if granted a new life. Certain desert plants remain dry and lifeless for years, yet the moment rain touches them, they bloom with extraordinary speed and beauty. Forests devastated by fire eventually regenerate, as new shoots emerge from charred soil and entire ecosystems return to life. Animals that hibernate enter deep states of inactivity where bodily functions slow dramatically, mimicking death, yet they awaken with renewed strength when the season changes. Even the oceans display this pattern, as coral reefs that appear dead after bleaching events can regenerate when conditions improve. The heavens themselves reflect this cycle. Stars collapse and scatter their elements across space, and from this material new stars and planets are formed, creation emerging from destruction. The daily rhythm of sleep and wakefulness also reflects this truth. Sleep resembles a minor death, for the sleeper's senses are suspended and their awareness withdrawn. Allah, the Exalted, then restores life by returning the soul to the body for those destined to continue living. Chapter 39 Az-Zumar, verse 42.
Allah takes the souls at the time of their death, and those that do not die He takes during their sleep. Then He keeps those for which He has decreed death, and releases the others for a specified term. Indeed, in that are signs for a people who give thought.
In addition, the Day of Judgment is something that must occur. When one observes the universe, they notice countless examples of balance. The Earth is positioned at a perfectly balanced distance from the Sun. Even a slight deviation would render it uninhabitable. The water cycle, evaporation, condensation, and rainfall is precisely calibrated to sustain life. The ground is created in a balanced manner, soft enough for delicate shoots to penetrate, yet strong enough to support massive structures. These and many other examples clearly indicate not only a creator, but also a system of perfect balance. Yet there is one major aspect of this world that is clearly unbalanced: the actions of humanity. One often observes oppressive and tyrannical individuals who escape punishment in this world. Conversely, countless people endure oppression and hardship without receiving their full reward for patience. Many who sincerely obey Allah, the Exalted, face difficulties and receive only a small portion of their reward in this life, while those who openly disobey Him may enjoy worldly luxuries. Just as Allah, the Exalted, has established balance in all aspects of creation, the reward and punishment of actions must also be balanced. Since this balance does not occur fully in this world, it must occur at another time, namely the Day of Judgment. Allah, the Exalted, could fully reward and punish in this world, But one of the wisdoms behind delaying complete recompense is that He grants people opportunity after opportunity to repent sincerely and correct their behavior. Likewise, He does not grant complete reward in this world because this world is not paradise. Belief in the unseen, particularly the unseen reward awaiting a person in the next life, is an essential aspect of faith. In fact, belief in the unseen is what gives faith its true value. Believing only in what can be perceived through the five senses, such as receiving full reward in this world, would not be special. Having fear of full punishment and hope in receiving full reward in the hereafter motivates a person to abstain from sins and perform righteous deeds. For the day of recompense to begin, this material world must come to an end. Punishment and reward can only be given once everyone's actions have concluded. Therefore, the day of recompense cannot occur until the actions of humanity have ceased, which indicates that the material world must eventually end. When a person reflects on this discussion, their faith in the Day of Judgment strengthens, encouraging them to prepare for it by using the blessings they have been granted correctly, as outlined in the Holy Quran and the traditions of the Holy Prophet Muhammad, peace and blessings be upon him. Through this, they attain peace of mind and success in both worlds, achieving a balanced mental and physical state, and correctly placing everything and everyone within their life. Chapter 45 Al-Jatiyah, verse 22.
For Allah created the heavens and the earth for a purpose, so that every soul may be paid back for what it has committed, and none will be wronged.
And chapter 56 Al-Waqi'ah, verse 2.
There is at its occurrence no denial.
Unlike the delusion of this world, where people are elevated in social rank through superficial and temporary measures such as wealth, ethnicity, gender, or influential relationships, thereby clouding the perception of their true worth, the Day of Judgment will strip away every illusion. In this life, people often mistake outward status for inner virtue, and society frequently honors those who possess worldly advantages, while overlooking those who live with sincerity and righteousness. But on the Day of Judgment, all such distortions will vanish. The true value of a person will be revealed, a value determined solely by how faithfully they obeyed Allah, the Exalted, by correctly using the blessings He granted them, as outlined in Islamic teachings. Chapter 49 Al-Hujurat, verse 13.
Indeed, the most noble of you in the sight of Allah is the most righteous of you.
As a result of this manifestation, those who were dismissed, ignored, or considered insignificant by worldly standards, but who obeyed Allah, the Exalted, will be elevated to ranks far beyond anything they could have imagined. Their sincerity, patience, and obedience, often unnoticed by society, will shine with undeniable clarity. Conversely, those who were admired, respected, or feared in this world, yet persisted in disobedience, will be lowered and disgraced. Their worldly prestige will offer no benefit, and their former status will collapse like dust. Chapter 56 Al-Waqi'ah, verse 3.
It will bring down some and raise up others.
If a person desires to be raised in rank on the Day of Judgment, they must recognize that true status is not determined by worldly measures, which are fleeting and deceptive. Instead, it is intrinsically tied to how faithfully they obey Allah, the Exalted, by using the blessings they have been granted in the manner He has prescribed. This approach not only ensures that a person attains a balanced mental and physical state, and correctly places everything and everyone within their life, thereby achieving peace of mind, but also ensures that they prepare practically and sincerely for their accountability. Through this preparation, they secure an eternal high rank in the hereafter, a rank far superior to any temporary status they could acquire in this fleeting world. Despite the stability found within the creation, such as the firmness of mountains and the reliability of the earth, on the Day of Judgment, all of these strong and seemingly unshakable elements will crumble under the overwhelming force of that great day. The very structures that people rely upon for stability and security will collapse, demonstrating that nothing in creation possesses inherent permanence or power. Chapter 56 Al-Waqi'ah, verses 4-6.
When the earth is shaken with convulsion, and the mountains are broken down, crumbling, and become dust dispersing.
The only thing that will remain firm despite the devastation of that day is the person who possesses strong and unwavering faith in Allah, the Exalted. While mountains will disintegrate and the earth will convulse, The heart that is anchored in sincere belief will remain steady, protected by divine support. Chapter 14 Ibrahim, verse 27.
Allah keeps firm those who believe with the firm word in worldly life and in the hereafter.
A strong faith is therefore essential for remaining committed to obeying Allah, the Exalted, in every circumstance, whether during times of ease or hardship. This deep and resilient faith is nurtured by understanding and implementing the clear signs and teachings found in the Holy Quran and the traditions of the Holy Prophet Muhammad, peace and blessings be upon him. These teachings reveal that true obedience to Allah, the Exalted, brings peace, stability, and clarity in both this life and the next. On the other hand, those who lack knowledge of Islamic principles will have weak and fragile faith, making them more likely to stray from obedience, especially when their personal desires conflict with divine guidance. This lack of understanding blinds them to the reality that surrendering their desires in favor of following the commands of Allah, the Exalted, is the key to attaining genuine peace in both worlds. Therefore, it is essential for a person to strengthen their faith through the pursuit of Islamic knowledge and its practical application, ensuring they remain obedient to Allah, the Exalted, at all times. This involves correctly utilizing the blessings they have been granted, as outlined by Islamic teachings, ultimately leading to a balanced mental and physical state and the correct prioritization of all areas of their life. Allah, the Exalted, describes that humanity will be divided into three distinct groups on the Day of Judgment, a classification mentioned to awaken awareness and motivate people in this world to strive to be among those who are successful. Chapter 56 Al-Waqi'ah, verses 7 to 10.
And you become of three kinds. Then the companions of the right, what are the companions of the right? And the companions of the left, what are the companions of the left? And the forerunners, the forerunners.
These verses establish that people will not all share the same outcome, and that one's position in the hereafter will be determined by how they lived and used the blessings they were granted. Among these groups, the forerunners represent the highest rank. They are not satisfied with merely fulfilling the minimum obligations and avoiding clear prohibitions. Instead, they go beyond this baseline by dedicating their lives to consistently using every blessing they possess in ways pleasing to Allah, the Exalted, while actively avoiding sinful and even vain behavior. Chapter 56 Al-Waqi'ah, verse 11.
Those are the ones brought near to Allah.
In fact, an aspect of piety is to avoid some lawful things out of fear it will take one to the unlawful, a principle firmly established in those who are considered from the forerunners. Chapter 2 Al-Baqarah, verse 187.
These are the limits set by Allah, so do not approach them.
Allah, the Exalted, did not merely instruct people not to cross His limits, rather, He warned them not to even approach those limits. This distinction highlights divine wisdom, as approaching the limits increases the likelihood of eventually crossing them. This guidance is repeated throughout the Holy Quran. For example, when Allah, the Exalted, addressed the Holy Prophet Adam, peace be upon him, He did not simply forbid eating from the tree in paradise, but instructed him not to even approach it, even though approaching it was not sinful in itself. Chapter 7 Al-Araf, verse 19.
And O Adam, dwell, you and your wife in paradise and eat from wherever you will, but do not approach this tree, lest you be among the wrongdoers.
This demonstrates that not everything lawful is necessarily beneficial to engage in. Some lawful matters, particularly vain ones, serve as gateways to the unlawful. Vain speech, although not sinful in itself, often leads to lying, mockery, or backbiting. Likewise, careless and vain spending can gradually lead to wastefulness, which is clearly condemned. Chapter 17 Al-Isra, verse 27.
Indeed, the wasteful are brothers of the devils, and ever has Satan been to his Lord ungrateful.
History and personal experience both show that misguidance usually occurs gradually, not suddenly. People rarely fall into serious wrongdoing instantly. Instead, they move toward it step by step. A person who repeatedly places themselves near unlawful environments, even without directly participating, becomes increasingly desensitized and vulnerable. For example, someone who regularly accompanies people who consume alcohol is far more likely to eventually drink than someone who avoids such company altogether. This cautious approach to lawful matters, especially vain ones, was strongly emphasized by the Holy Prophet Muhammad, peace and blessings be upon him. In a hadith found in Jami at Tirmidhi, number 2451, he taught that a person cannot attain true piety until they abandon some lawful things out of fear that they may lead to the unlawful. This shows that righteousness is not limited to avoiding clear sins, but also involves foresight, restraint, and discipline in everyday choices. By adopting this mindset, a person protects their sincerity in obeying Allah, the Exalted. They ensure that the blessings they have been granted are used correctly, as outlined in the Holy Quran and the traditions of the Holy Prophet Muhammad, peace and blessings be upon him. This approach forms the essence of righteousness and leads to peace of mind in both worlds, through achieving a balanced mental and physical state, and by correctly placing everything and everyone within one's life. In contrast, the one who fails to appreciate the importance of not approaching the limits of Allah, the Exalted, tends to overindulge in lawful matters, particularly vain ones. This overindulgence gradually weakens self-control, increases the likelihood of falling into the unlawful, and leads to the misuse of blessings. The result is stress, inner unrest, and difficulty in both worlds. Such a person develops an unbalanced mental and physical state, misplaces priorities, relationships, and responsibilities, and remains poorly prepared for accountability on the Day of Judgment, even if they experience temporary enjoyment or entertainment. This pattern is clearly observable in many lives, particularly among those who possess wealth or status but lack restraint. Their outward comfort often conceals inner instability and dissatisfaction. These outcomes serve as a clear lesson that true success does not lie in unrestricted enjoyment, but in disciplined obedience and conscious restraint. The path of the forerunners, though demanding, is the path that leads to lasting peace, clarity, and success in both this world and the hereafter. Chapter 56 Al-Waqi'ah, verses 10 to 11.
And the forerunners, those are the ones brought near to Allah.
A group from the forerunners includes those people who were the first from among their close relatives and friends to adopt a life dedicated to the obedience of Allah, the Exalted, thereby challenging the familiar norms and expectations they were accustomed to. Such individuals often break long-standing patterns within their families and communities, choosing a path of sincerity, discipline, and moral clarity in an environment where worldly priorities dominate. In general, when a person chooses a different path from their peers, especially one that prioritizes divine guidance over personal desires, it can evoke discomfort or feelings of inadequacy in others. This is because the righteous choices of one individual naturally highlight the shortcomings or inconsistencies in the choices of those around them. As a result, people may respond defensively, attempting to undermine or discourage the one who has chosen the path of obedience. Consequently, this may result in criticism aimed at those who steadfastly uphold their faith, often from those closest to them. This criticism can take many forms, ranging from subtle mockery and dismissive comments to open verbal abuse or even social boycott. Family members may accuse them of being extreme, ungrateful, or disruptive simply because they refuse to conform to unhealthy norms. Friends may distance themselves, feeling threatened by the moral transformation they witness. Yet despite these pressures, the one who remains firm upon obeying Allah, the Exalted, through such difficulties, demonstrates remarkable sincerity and resilience. Their perseverance becomes a testimony to their inner strength and clarity of purpose. But the one who remains firm on obeying Allah, the Exalted, through these difficulties will not only be granted peace of mind in both worlds, through attaining a balanced mental and physical state, and through correctly placing everything and everyone within their life, but will also be counted among the forerunners because of their sacrifices. Their willingness to endure discomfort, criticism, and isolation for the sake of truth elevates their rank in the sight of Allah, the Exalted. They become examples for others, pioneers who open the door of guidance within their families and communities. Their sacrifices in this world translate into honor in the next, where their early commitment and steadfastness will be recognized and rewarded with a status far beyond anything they could have attained through worldly measures. Chapter 56 Al-Waqi'ah, verses 10 to 11.
And the forerunners, those are the ones brought near to Allah.
In addition, the forerunners also consist of those who, Despite the intense pressure to blindly follow the majority opinion and the dominant way of life within their society, choose a more solitary yet superior path, the path of obeying Allah the Exalted in every situation. Such individuals resist the powerful psychological pull of conformity, a force that often leads people to adopt beliefs and behaviors simply because they are widespread. When a person observes the majority of society ignoring Islamic teachings, they may assume that the behavior of the majority must be correct, and as a result, they follow them without thought or reflection. Yet this assumption is deeply flawed. The majority opinion is not always correct, nor is it always rooted in truth or wisdom. History provides countless examples of widely accepted beliefs that were later proven false when new evidence emerged, such as the once unquestioned belief that the earth was flat. Blind conformity therefore becomes a dangerous path, one that can lead a person away from divine guidance and into error. It is essential to refrain from acting like cattle, unthinkingly following the herd, as this often results in misguided choices in both secular and spiritual matters. Chapter 6 Al-An'am, verse 116.
And if you obey most of those upon the earth, they will mislead you from the way of Allah. They follow not except assumption, and they are not but guessing.
Instead, individuals should employ the reasoning and intellect bestowed upon them to evaluate each circumstance based on knowledge, reflection, and evidence. This approach enables them to make informed decisions, even when these decisions diverge from the prevailing opinions of the majority. In fact, Islam strongly criticizes the blind imitation of others in religious matters for this very reason. It encourages a person to learn, understand, and act upon Islamic teachings with insight and awareness, rather than through unthinking conformity. By doing so, a person not only protects themselves from the errors of the majority, but also aligns their life with divine wisdom, ensuring clarity, stability, and peace of mind in both worlds. Chapter 12 Yusuf, verse 108.
Say, this is my way, I invite to Allah with insight, I and those who follow me.
Finally, as the path of the forerunners is demanding and often lonely in terms of worldly companionship, only a small number of people from each generation are able to commit to it fully. The greatest number of them were from those who directly witnessed, accepted, and lived alongside the holy prophets, peace be upon them, sharing in their struggles, sacrifices, and hardships. Chapter 56 Al-Waqi'ah, verses 10 to 13.
And the forerunners, those are the ones brought near to Allah, in the gardens of pleasure, a large company from the first people, and a few of the later peoples.
These verses highlight both the elevated status of the forerunners and the reality that their path has never been widely embraced. Nearness to Allah, the Exalted, requires sacrifice, restraint, and perseverance, qualities that only a minority consistently uphold. Those who lived in the presence of the holy prophets, peace be upon them, had a unique opportunity to witness revelation in action, observe divine guidance embodied in daily life, and endure trials alongside the very people calling them to truth. This proximity naturally produced a depth of commitment and sincerity that is difficult to replicate. This also draws attention to another defining quality of the forerunners, strong and unshakable faith. Having directly witnessed the message of their holy prophet, peace be upon them, and having learned divine guidance at its source, they possessed the strongest faith within their nations. This certainty translated into the highest level of obedience to Allah, the Exalted, as faith that is deeply rooted naturally manifests in consistent and sincere action. Following the path of the forerunners in later generations, therefore requires striving to cultivate the same strength of faith. Strong faith is essential because it anchors a person in obedience to Allah, the Exalted, during both ease and hardship. Without strong faith, obedience becomes conditional, dependent on comfort, convenience, or personal desire. With strong faith, obedience remains firm regardless of circumstances. Strong faith is not achieved through wishful thinking or blind imitation. It is developed by learning, reflecting upon, and acting on the clear proofs and evidences found in the Holy Quran and the traditions of the Holy Prophet Muhammad, peace and blessings be upon him. These sources consistently demonstrate how sincere obedience to Allah, the Exalted, leads to peace of mind, inner stability, and clarity in both worlds. As knowledge increases and is put into practice, certainty grows and obedience becomes natural rather than burdensome. In contrast, the one who remains ignorant of Islamic teachings will inevitably possess weak faith. Such a person will find it easy to disobey Allah, the Exalted, whenever divine guidance conflicts with personal desires. This occurs because they fail to perceive the long-term benefit of restraining desires and the harm that follows from indulging them. As a result, obedience feels restrictive, while disobedience appears attractive, even though it ultimately leads to imbalance and unrest. Therefore, a person must actively seek certainty of faith by learning and acting upon Islamic knowledge. This certainty enables them to remain steadfast upon obedience to Allah, the Exalted, in every situation. It involves using the blessings one has been granted correctly, as outlined in Islamic teachings, rather than being controlled by desires or social pressure. By doing so, a person follows the path of the forerunners to the best of their ability and attains peace of mind in both worlds, through achieving a balanced mental and physical state, and by correctly placing everyone and everything within their life. Chapter 56 Al-Waqi'ah, verse 15.
On thrones woven with ornament, reclining on them, facing each other.
As mentioned earlier, the path of the forerunners is a lonely one, as not many possess the courage, clarity, or inner strength required to traverse it. Choosing this path often means walking against the current of societal expectations, resisting the pull of conformity, and enduring the discomfort of isolation. The forerunners willingly sacrifice companionship, approval, and ease in order to uphold truth, sincerity, and obedience to Allah, the Exalted. Their solitude in this world is not a sign of insignificance, but a mark of distinction, for they tread a path that only the most resolute hearts can endure. In response to the solitude they experience in this life, Allah, the Exalted, will honor them in the hereafter with not only His proximity, but also the companionship of the other forerunners throughout history, those noble souls who made similar sacrifices for His sake. Chapter 56 Al-Waqi'ah, verses 16 to 19.
Reclining on them, facing each other, there will circulate among them young boys made eternal, with vessels, pitchers, and a cup of wine from a flowing spring. No headache will they have therefrom, nor will they be intoxicated.
As the forerunners were exceptionally cautious in controlling not only their sinful desires, but also their vain and unnecessary desires, they will be allowed to unleash their desires in the hereafter. In this world, they restrained themselves, disciplined their impulses, and prioritized obedience over indulgence. They willingly denied themselves pleasures that were permissible yet distracting, choosing instead to focus on what brought them closer to Allah, the Exalted. Their restraint was not rooted in deprivation but in wisdom, for they understood that temporary sacrifices lead to eternal gain. In the hereafter, this disciplined self-control will be rewarded with complete freedom from limitation. Every desire they possess will be fulfilled without restriction, harm, or regret. Their patience in this world becomes the key to their joy in the next, and the pleasures they experience in paradise will far surpass anything they withheld from themselves in the fleeting life of this world. Chapter 56 Al-Waqi'ah, verses 20 to 23.
And fruit of what they select, and the meat of fowl from whatever they desire. And for them are fair women with large, beautiful eyes, the likenesses of pearls well protected.
Allah, the Exalted, makes it clear that obtaining paradise, especially the elevated status of the forerunners, requires a person to support their verbal declaration of faith with consistent, sincere action. Words alone, when unaccompanied by deeds, hold little value in Islam. A verbal claim of belief is merely the starting point. Its truth is proven through obedience, sacrifice, and the correct use of the blessings Allah, the Exalted, has granted. Paradise is not attained through wishful thinking or empty statements, but through lived faith. Chapter 56 Al-Waqi'ah, verse 24.
As reward for what they used to do.
It is vital to understand that in this world a person is judged as a Muslim by the law based on their verbal declaration of faith. This legal judgment ensures social order and protects the rights of individuals. However, in the hereafter, each person will be judged by Allah, the Exalted, according to their inward reality, the true state of their heart, which remains hidden from others. Therefore, someone who verbally claims to believe in Allah, the Exalted, and in their accountability in the hereafter, yet fails to support this claim with actions, may possess no real faith within their heart. As a result, they may be treated as a non-believer on the Day of Judgment, even if the law considered them a Muslim in this world. This distinction highlights the seriousness of aligning one's outward statements with inward sincerity and righteous conduct. In addition, the one who fails to support their verbal declaration of faith with actions is in great danger of losing their faith before they die. Faith is not static, it is dynamic and requires constant nourishment. It is crucial to recognize that faith resembles a delicate plant that must be nurtured through acts of obedience in order to thrive and survive. Just as a plant deprived of essential elements such as sunlight, water, and care will wither and die, a person's faith can similarly fade away if not sustained by good deeds. Neglecting righteous actions weakens the heart, allowing worldly desires, doubts, and heedlessness to take root. Over time, this spiritual neglect can result in the most profound loss, the extinguishing of faith itself. Thus, supporting one's declaration of belief with consistent action is not merely recommended, it is essential for spiritual survival. The forerunners not only avoided listening to vain and sinful speech by distancing themselves from those who engaged in such behavior, but they also refrained from uttering such speech themselves. They understood that speech is a powerful force that shapes the heart, influences behavior, and determines one's spiritual state. Speech can be divided into three categories. The first is evil speech, which includes lying, backbiting, slander, mockery, vulgarity, and all forms of verbal harm. This category must be avoided entirely, as it corrupts the heart and destroys good deeds. The second category is good speech, words of truth, wisdom, kindness, remembrance, and guidance, which should be spoken at the appropriate time, for such speech elevates a person in both worlds. The final category is vain speech. Although this type of speech is neither sinful nor virtuous in itself, it often serves as a gateway to sinful speech, as idle talk weakens self-restraint and distracts the heart from remembrance. Moreover, vain speech will be a source of regret for a person on the Day of Judgment when they realize how much time and opportunity they wasted on words that brought no benefit. Therefore, a person must either speak what is good or remain silent, as advised in a hadith found in Sahih Muslim, number 176. As a result of their disciplined behavior, the forerunners will be blessed with a life in the hereafter, completely free from vain and sinful speech. Their ears will never again hear words that disturb the heart, corrupt the mind, or cause discomfort. Instead, they will dwell in an environment of purity, tranquility, and honor, where every word spoken is meaningful, uplifting, and filled with goodness. Chapter Al-Waqi'ah, verse 25.
They will not hear therein vain speech or what is sinful.
This reward reflects the principle of divine justice. Those who purified their speech in this world will enjoy a realm where only pure speech exists, while those who indulged in harmful or pointless words will face the consequences of their choices. The forerunners' restraint in this life becomes the key to their serenity in the next. Chapter 56 Al-Waqi'ah, verse 26.
Only a saying, peace, peace.
After describing some aspects of the forerunners and the reward awaiting them in the hereafter, Allah, the Exalted, introduces another group of successful people who, although possessing a lower rank than the forerunners, are still blessed in both worlds. Their status is honorable, their outcome is secure, and their path, though less demanding than that of the forerunners, remains one of sincere obedience and steadfastness. Chapter 56 Al-Waqi'ah, verse 27.
The companions of the right. What are the companions of the right?
The companions of the right side are those who supported their verbal declaration of faith in Allah, the Exalted, with sincere actions. They adhered to His commands and refrained from His prohibitions, even though they made mistakes along the way, for perfection is not expected from any person. Their lives reflect a genuine effort to use the blessings they were granted in accordance with Islamic teachings, though the degree of their dedication varies. Those who invested more energy into correctly utilizing their blessings, by prioritizing obedience, restraining their desires, and striving for self-improvement, will attain greater peace of mind in both worlds. They will experience a more balanced mental and physical state, and will correctly place everything and everyone within their life. Conversely, those who exerted less effort will attain a lesser degree of peace and balance. Yet despite these differences, all of them will still achieve salvation and success in the hereafter, for they supported their verbal declaration of faith with genuine though imperfect action. Their rank may not reach the level of the forerunners, but their outcome remains one of eternal success. Chapter 56 Al-Waqi'ah, verses 28 to 37.
They will be among lot trees with thorns removed, and banana trees layered with fruit, and shade extended, and water poured out, and fruit abundant and varied, neither limited nor forbidden, and upon beds raised high. Indeed, we have produced the women of paradise in a new creation, and made them virgins, devoted to their husbands and of equal age.
As the path of the people of the right is easier and less demanding, it has always been more popular than the path of the forerunners. Thus, they consist of the majority of the success people in the hereafter. Chapter 56 Al-Waqi'ah, verses 38 to 40.
For the companions of the right, who are a large company from the first peoples, and a large company of the later peoples.
After discussing both the forerunners and the lower rank of successful people, the people of the right side, a person must reflect on a reality they already experience in this world in order to decide which path they should pursue. When people achieve any form of worldly success, they naturally feel a deep and personal sense of satisfaction with the effort they invested to attain it. A university student, for example, often feels a profound fulfillment when they receive their degree, recalling the long hours of revision, the sacrifices of leisure, and the discipline required to reach that moment. Athletes feel pride after years of training culminate in victory. Business owners feel gratification when their hard work results in growth and stability. The greater the worldly goal, the greater the satisfaction one feels upon achieving it. This universal human experience is a clear reminder that effort and reward are intimately connected. In the same way, those who attain paradise will feel an even greater satisfaction with the efforts they made during their earthly lives. In fact, this feeling of satisfaction is the very first quality mentioned when the people of paradise are described in chapter 88 Al-Ghashiyah, verses 8 to 9.
Other faces that day will show pleasure. With their effort they are satisfied.
Therefore, each person must reflect on how much satisfaction they desire to feel on the day of judgment and work accordingly. If one desires to experience the highest level of satisfaction, the satisfaction felt by the forerunners, then just as they eagerly anticipate the joy of worldly accomplishments, they should strive even harder for the eternal joy of the hereafter. This striving is achieved through the sincere obedience of Allah, the Exalted, by correctly using the blessings they have been granted, as outlined in Islamic teachings in every situation. The more a person dedicates themselves to this goal, the greater satisfaction and rank they will attain in both worlds. They will achieve a balanced mental and physical state, correctly place everything and everyone within their life, and ultimately secure a level of peace and fulfillment that far surpasses anything this world can offer. Their efforts in this life will translate into eternal honor, and the satisfaction they feel on that day will be a reflection of the sincerity, discipline, and devotion they displayed throughout their earthly journey. After describing the two successful groups, Allah, the Exalted, then moves on to describing the unsuccessful group. This transition serves as a powerful reminder that just as there are paths leading to eternal success, there are also paths that lead to loss and regret. Chapter 56 Al-Waqi'ah, verses 41 to 44.
And the companions of the left, what are the companions of the left? They will be in scorching fire and scalding water, and a shade of black smoke, neither cool nor beneficial.
They were those who prioritized pursuing their worldly desires and aspirations over obedience to Allah, the Exalted, thereby misusing the blessings He had granted them. Instead of directing their time, energy, and abilities toward what would benefit them in both worlds, they allowed their desires to dominate their decisions. This misuse of blessings inevitably led to an unbalanced mental and physical state, as the heart becomes restless when detached from divine purpose. They misplaced everything and everyone within their life, giving priority to what was temporary while neglecting what was eternal. As a result, they failed to adequately prepare for their accountability on the day of judgment. This negligence leads to stress, trouble, and difficulties in both worlds, even if they enjoy certain worldly luxuries. Their outward comfort cannot compensate for the inner turmoil caused by living without direction, discipline, or spiritual grounding. Ultimately, their short-lived indulgence becomes the cause of long-lasting regret. Chapter 56 Al-Waqi'ah, verses 45 to 46.
Indeed they were before that, indulging in affluence. And they used to persist in the great violation.
The great violation has been interpreted in many different ways. As indicated by the immediate next verses, the great violation could involve intentionally discouraging others from accepting and acting upon divine teachings, driven by fear of losing one's social influence, authority, or leadership within society. This is a grave sin, for the one who misguides others will have their sins multiplied in proportion to the number of people they lead astray. This warning is clearly stated in a hadith found in Jami at Tirmidhi, number 2674. The leaders of the non-Muslims of Mecca, just like influential individuals in every generation, employed various strategies to discourage others from accepting Islam, fearing that the spread of truth would diminish their power and status. One such method was to challenge the reality of resurrection and accountability, attempting to cast doubt on foundational beliefs. Chapter 56 Al-Waqi'ah, verses 47 to 48.
And they used to say, when we die and become dust and bones, are we indeed to be resurrected? And our forefathers as well.
In general, it is important to recognize that a common tendency among those who wish to dismiss a concept that conflicts with their desires is to exaggerate it to the point of absurdity, thereby making it appear unreasonable and untrue. This distortion then serves as a convenient justification for rejecting the concept altogether. For instance, when an individual persists in mistreating others, such as relatives, and is advised to instead show respect and good conduct, they may excuse their behavior by claiming that such counsel requires them to be flawless, like an angel, never displaying even the slightest negative behavior. Since human perfection is unattainable, they dismiss the original advice, which was both practical and achievable, as unrealistic, thereby justifying their misconduct and avoiding meaningful change. Such behavior prevents individuals from assuming responsibility for their actions, inevitably leading to misguidance. Neglecting personal accountability stunts the development of character and fosters the misuse of blessings granted by Allah, the Exalted. This negligence results in both mental and physical disorder, causing individuals to misplace priorities and relationships in their lives, and leaving them unprepared for accountability on the Day of Judgment. Regardless of any material wealth they may possess, this failure to take responsibility leads to stress, hardship, and adversity in both this life and the hereafter. Furthermore, evading accountability prevents individuals from fulfilling the rights of others, thereby contributing to the spread of corruption and injustice within their communities. Chapter 56 Al-Waqi'ah, verse 45 to 46.
Indeed they were before that, indulging in affluence. And they used to persist in the great violation.
The great violation could also be referring to those who claim faith in Allah, the Exalted, yet, because preparing for their accountability through obedience contradicts their worldly desires and aspirations, they fail to practically support their verbal declaration of faith. Their behavior mirrors that of someone who does not believe in the hereafter at all. They may never openly deny resurrection or accountability, yet their actions silently proclaim the same message as the disbelievers who mock its reality. Chapter 56 Al-Waqi'ah, verses 47 to 48.
And they used to say, when we die and become dust and bones, are we indeed to be resurrected? And our forefathers as well.
In this case, these words are not spoken but demonstrated through their conduct. Their failure to practically prepare for their accountability, by correctly using the blessings they have been granted, as outlined in Islamic teachings, reveals the true state of their heart. As warned earlier, it is vital to understand that in this world a person is judged as a Muslim by the law according to their verbal declaration of faith. This legal judgment ensures social order and protects rights. But in the hereafter, each person will be judged by Allah, the Exalted, according to their inward reality, which is hidden from others. Therefore, someone who verbally claims to believe in Allah, the Exalted, and in their accountability in the hereafter, yet does not support their verbal declaration with actions, may possess no real faith in their heart. As a result, they will be treated as a non-Muslim on the Day of Judgment, even if the law considered them a Muslim in this world. This distinction underscores the seriousness of aligning outward claims with inward sincerity and righteous conduct. In addition, the one who fails to support their verbal declaration of faith with actions is in great danger of losing their faith before they die. It is vital to understand that faith may be likened to a delicate flame that requires constant tending. Just as a fire dies out when deprived of fuel, faith weakens and may be extinguished if not sustained through consistent acts of obedience. Neglecting this spiritual nourishment places a person at risk of losing the very light that guides them, and such a loss is the most devastating of all. When faith is not reinforced through prayer, remembrance, charity, and moral discipline, the heart becomes vulnerable to doubt, desire, and heedlessness. Over time, this spiritual erosion can lead to complete loss of belief, leaving a person unprepared for the hereafter and deprived of the peace, clarity, and stability that living faith provides. Chapter 56 Al-Waqi'ah, verses 47 to 48.
And they used to say, "When we die and become dust and bones, are we indeed to be resurrected? And our forefathers as well?"
Denying the possibility of human resurrection on the Day of Judgment is a remarkable claim, especially when the created world is filled with countless signs of life emerging from what appears to be death. Allah, the Exalted, has embedded patterns of resurrection throughout creation, displaying them repeatedly across days, seasons, and generations. These signs are so abundant, so consistent, and so deeply woven into the fabric of existence that only those who refuse to reflect remain unconvinced. Rain falls upon barren land, reviving soil that seemed utterly lifeless. Dormant seeds, dry, hard, and apparently dead, absorb water, swell, and burst open, producing vegetation that sustains the creation. If Allah, the Exalted, can revive a seed buried in the earth, then resurrecting the human being, who is likewise placed into the ground, is no more difficult for the one who created both. The cycle of the seasons provides another powerful testimony. In winter, trees stand bare and lifeless, their branches stripped of color and vitality. Yet with the arrival of spring, they awaken. Leaves unfurl, flowers bloom, and entire landscapes that once appeared dead become vibrant with life. This transformation repeats year after year, silently proclaiming the reality of resurrection. Even within the human body, resurrection is a continuous process. Skin cells, blood cells, and countless other tissues die and are replaced every moment. The body is in a perpetual state of renewal, though people rarely pause to consider the profound implications of this ongoing transformation. A caterpillar enters a cocoon in a state resembling death, only to emerge as a butterfly, completely transformed, as if granted a new life. Certain desert plants remain dry and lifeless for years, yet the moment rain touches them, they bloom with extraordinary speed and beauty. Forests devastated by fire eventually regenerate, as new shoots emerge from charred soil and entire ecosystems return to life. Animals that hibernate enter deep states of inactivity where bodily functions slow dramatically, mimicking death, yet they awaken with renewed strength when the season changes. Even the oceans display this pattern, as coral reefs that appear dead after bleaching events can regenerate when conditions improve. The heavens themselves reflect this cycle. Stars collapse and scatter their elements across space, and from this material new stars and planets are formed, creation emerging from destruction. The daily rhythm of sleep and wakefulness also reflects this truth. Sleep resembles a minor death, for the sleeper's senses are suspended and their awareness withdrawn. Allah, the Exalted, then restores life by returning the soul to the body for those destined to continue living. Chapter 39 Az-Zumar, verse 42.
Allah takes the souls at the time of their death, and those that do not die He takes during their sleep. Then He keeps those for which He has decreed death, and releases the others for a specified term. Indeed, in that are signs for a people who give thought.
In addition, the Day of Judgment is something which must occur. If one observes the universe, they will notice many examples of balance. The Earth is positioned at a perfect and balanced distance from the Sun. Even a slight deviation would render it uninhabitable. Similarly, the water cycle, where water evaporates from the oceans, rises into the atmosphere, condenses into clouds, and returns as rain, is perfectly calibrated to sustain life. The ground is created in a balanced manner, soft enough for delicate shoots to penetrate, yet strong enough to support massive structures. These and countless other examples not only clearly indicate a creator, but also reveal a profound system of balance. Yet there is one major aspect of this world that is clearly unbalanced: the actions of humanity. One often observes oppressive and tyrannical individuals who escape punishment in this world. Conversely, countless people endure oppression and hardship without receiving their full reward for patience. Many Muslims who sincerely obey Allah, the Exalted, face difficulties and receive only a small portion of their reward in this life, while those who openly disobey Him may enjoy worldly luxuries. Just as Allah, the Exalted, has established balance in all aspects of creation, the reward and punishment of actions must also be balanced. Since this balance does not occur fully in this world, it must occur at another time, namely the Day of Judgment. Allah, the Exalted, could reward and punish fully in this world. But one of the wisdoms behind not fully punishing in this world is that Allah, the Exalted, grants people opportunity after opportunity to repent sincerely and correct their behavior. He does not fully reward Muslims in this world, because this world is not paradise. In addition, believing in the unseen, particularly the unseen reward awaiting a Muslim in the next world, is an essential aspect of faith. In fact, belief in the unseen is what gives faith its true value. Believing only in what can be perceived through the five senses, such as receiving full reward in this world, would not be special, nor would it cultivate sincerity, patience, or trust in Allah, the Exalted. Having fear of full punishment and hope in receiving full reward in the hereafter encourages a person to abstain from sins and perform righteous deeds. This balance of fear and hope strengthens the heart, disciplines the soul, and motivates consistent obedience. In order for the day of recompense to commence, this material world must end. This is because punishment and reward can only be given once everyone's actions have concluded. Therefore, the day of recompense cannot take place until the actions of humanity have ceased, which indicates that the material world must eventually end. Its temporary nature is a reminder that it is merely a stage for action, not a place for final judgment. When a person reflects on this discussion, their faith in the Day of Judgment strengthens, encouraging them to prepare for it by using the blessings they have been granted correctly, as outlined in the Holy Quran and the traditions of the Holy Prophet Muhammad, peace and blessings be upon him. Through this, they attain peace of mind and success in both worlds, achieving a balanced mental and physical state, and correctly placing everything and everyone within their life. This preparation transforms their worldly life into one of clarity, purpose, and tranquility, and their hereafter into one of eternal success. Chapter 45, Al-Jatiyah, verse 22.
For Allah created the heavens and the earth for a purpose, so that every soul may be paid back for what it has committed, and none will be wronged.
And chapter 56, Al-Waqi'ah, verses 49 to 50.
Say, indeed, the former and the later peoples are to be gathered together for the appointment of a known day.
When a person refuses to prepare for their accountability by obeying Allah, the Exalted, because such preparation conflicts with their worldly ambitions, desires, and comforts, they inevitably continue misusing the blessings He has entrusted to them. Their priorities become inverted, and their heart becomes attached to fleeting pleasures rather than lasting truth. This inward corruption prevents them from attaining a balanced mental and physical state, for tranquility cannot coexist with rebellion against one's Creator. As their inner world becomes disordered, they begin to misplace everything and everyone within their life. Family relationships become strained, friendships become burdensome, careers become sources of anxiety, and wealth becomes a cause of fear rather than security. If they persist in disobedience, they eventually direct blame toward the wrong people and circumstances, accusing their spouse, children, or relatives of causing their distress, when in reality the root of their suffering lies in their own misuse of blessings. When they sever ties with these good individuals, their condition only deteriorates further, pushing them into deeper emotional instability until they fall into depression, addiction, or even suicidal thoughts. This tragic pattern is clearly visible among those who continually misuse their blessings, such as many among the wealthy and famous, who, despite their luxuries, often suffer profound inner emptiness. And because their attitude prevented them from preparing for their accountability on the Day of Judgment, their punishment in the hereafter will be far more severe. Chapter 56 Al-Waqi'ah, verses 51 to 56.
Then indeed you, O those misguided deniers, will be eating from trees of zaqqum, and filling with it your bellies, and drinking on top of it from scalding water, and will drink as the drinking of thirsty camels. That is their accommodation on the day of recompense.
One of the primary reasons why the hereafter, particularly the Day of Judgment and Hell, has been described with such vivid detail in Islamic teachings is to dismantle the false beliefs adopted by earlier communities, who trivialized these realities and even mocked them. Their dismissive attitude stemmed from wishful thinking. They continued to disobey Allah, the Exalted, while convincing themselves that salvation would still be theirs. These false assumptions took many forms. Some relied on the intercession of a righteous person without any personal reform. Others believed that a mere verbal claim of faith would guarantee salvation, even if their actions contradicted their words. Some assumed that excuses and repentance would automatically be accepted on the Day of Judgment, regardless of their sincerity or deeds. Others imagined that the punishments of the hereafter would be mild, comparable to worldly discomforts. These ideas created a false sense of security that encouraged complacency and spiritual negligence. To eradicate such delusions, Islamic teachings present the realities of the hereafter with clarity and detail, so that people may grasp their seriousness and prepare accordingly. These descriptions are not meant to induce despair, but to awaken hearts, correct false hopes, and inspire sincere obedience to Allah, the Exalted. True obedience requires using the blessings He has granted in ways that please Him. As outlined in the Holy Quran and the traditions of the Holy Prophet Muhammad, peace and blessings be upon him. When a person internalizes these teachings, they are protected from complacency, guarded against self-deception, and guided toward a life of sincerity and accountability, ensuring safety from punishment and success in both worlds, through attaining a balanced mental and physical state, and through correctly placing everything and everyone within their life. After outlining the three categories of people who will appear on the Day of Judgment, Allah, the Exalted, turns His attention to those who rejected faith, individuals who acknowledged Him as their Creator, yet refused to affirm the truth He sent, even after recognizing its authenticity. Their denial was not rooted in ignorance, but in stubbornness and pride. Chapter 56 Al-Waqi'ah, verse 57.
We have created you, so why do you not testify to the truth?
The non-Muslims of Mecca, who prided themselves on their mastery of the Arabic language, immediately recognized that the Holy Quran could not be the product of human speech. Its linguistic precision, unmatched eloquence, and profound depth were beyond anything they had ever encountered. Furthermore, they had lived alongside the Holy Prophet Muhammad, peace and blessings be upon him, for 40 years before he announced his prophethood. They knew his character intimately. His honesty, integrity, and truthfulness were unquestioned. He had never lied to them about worldly matters, so it was irrational to assume he would suddenly fabricate a lie about Allah, the Exalted. Chapter 10 Yunus, verse 16.
For I had remained among you a lifetime before it. Then will you not reason?
Moreover, the Holy Prophet Muhammad, peace and blessings be upon him, had no access to previous divine scriptures. He was not known to read or write, nor did he study the teachings of earlier prophets. This fact was well known to both the people of the book and the non-Muslims of Mecca. Therefore, the detailed accounts of past nations, the accurate descriptions of earlier revelations, and the profound theological insights found in the Holy Quran could not have been acquired through human learning. This reality further confirms that the Holy Quran is a divine origin. Its knowledge, wisdom, and consistency surpass anything that could have been produced by our human being, especially one with no exposure to previous scriptures. Thus, their rejection of the Holy Quran was not due to doubt about its authenticity, but due to arrogance, fear of losing status, and an unwillingness to abandon their desires. Chapter 29 Al-Ankabut, verse 48.
And you did not recite before it any scripture, nor did you inscribe one with your right hand. Then, i.e., otherwise the falsifiers would have had cause for doubt.
After mentioning that the non-Muslims did not deny that Allah, the Exalted, created them, he then broadens this point to demonstrate his absolute oneness and to show that he alone deserves obedience in every circumstance. Their admission that he created them should have naturally led them to acknowledge his authority and submit to his guidance. Instead, they recognize the truth yet refuse to testify to it. Chapter 56 Al-Waqi'ah, verses 58 to 59.
Have you seen that which you emit? Is it you who creates it, or are we the creator?
These verses confront the human being with a reality they cannot escape. They contribute nothing to the actual creation of life. They merely witness the process, while the true act of creation belongs solely to Allah, the Exalted. This reminder exposes the irrationality of worshipping anything besides Him, or following desires in opposition to His commands. Anyone who reflects on the human body with sincerity and an open mind will recognize that its precise structure, the harmony of organs, bones, senses, and systems, could not have emerged without intention, knowledge, and power. The human being is a masterpiece of design. The heart beats with perfect rhythm, the lungs expand and contract with precision, the brain processes vast amounts of information, and the senses work together seamlessly. If even a simple tool or structure cannot exist without a designer, caretaker, and maintainer, then it is far more unreasonable to believe that the human being, with their astonishingly complex physical, mental, and emotional systems, came into existence without a creator and continues functioning without a sustainer. The body operates through countless interconnected processes that must remain in delicate balance for life to continue. A slight disruption to this balance can result in illness or death, highlighting the constant need for divine oversight. Every breath, heartbeat, and movement is a sign of the continuous care of Allah, the Exalted. The more one reflects on these realities, the clearer it becomes that the one who created life, sustains it, and maintains its balance is the only one worthy of obedience and worship. Not only does Allah, the Exalted, create and govern all things, but He alone brings about death and determines its moment, thereby demonstrating His complete authority over a person's existence in both this world and the next. Life and death are not random events, nor are they controlled by human effort, medicine, or circumstance. They unfold only by His decree, and no power can delay or hasten them. Chapter 56 Al-Waqi'ah, verse 60.
We have decreed death among you, and we are not to be outdone.
This verse affirms that death is not an accident of nature, but a deliberate act of divine will. It is a reminder that the one who initiates life and concludes it is the same one who will resurrect His creation for judgment. The inevitability of death is itself a profound sign of human limitation and the absolute control of Allah, the Exalted. A person has no authority over their entry into this world, nor can they prevent their departure from it. No amount of wealth, influence, or medical advancement can grant immortality or postpone the decree of death. When a person reflects on this reality with sincerity, they recognize that the one who brought them into existence without their choice and will remove them from it without their consent is the only one worthy of obedience. Death strips away illusions of independence and exposes the truth that human beings are entirely dependent on their Creator. Recognizing this should lead a person to humility, submission, and a renewed commitment to obeying Allah, the Exalted, in every situation. For the one who controls both the beginning and end of life is the only one who can guide a person to success in both worlds. In addition, as Allah, the Exalted, controls life and death, resurrecting someone after they have turned to dust and bones is not a difficult task for Him. Chapter 56 Al-Waqi'ah, verses 61 to 62.
In that we will change your likenesses and produce you in that form which you do not know. And you have already known the first creation, so will you not reflect?
As discussed earlier, denying the possibility of human resurrection on the Day of Judgment is a remarkable claim, especially when the created world is filled with countless signs of life, emerging from what appears to be death. Allah, the Exalted, has embedded patterns of resurrection throughout creation, displaying them repeatedly across days, seasons, and generations. These signs are so abundant and so consistent that only those who refuse to reflect remain unconvinced. Rain falls upon barren land, reviving soil that seemed utterly lifeless. Dormant seeds, dry, hard, and apparently dead, absorb water, swell and burst open, producing vegetation that sustains the creation. If Allah, the Exalted, can revive a seed buried in the earth, then resurrecting the human being, who is likewise placed into the ground, is no more difficult for the one who created both. The cycle of the seasons provides another powerful testimony. In winter, trees stand bare and lifeless, their branches stripped of color and vitality. Yet with the arrival of spring, they awaken. Leaves unfurl, flowers bloom, and entire landscapes that once appeared dead become vibrant with life. This transformation repeats year after year, silently proclaiming the reality of resurrection. Even within the human body, resurrection is a continuous process. Skin cells, blood cells, and countless other tissues die and are replaced every moment. The body is in a perpetual state of renewal, though people rarely pause to consider the profound implications of this ongoing transformation. A caterpillar enters a cocoon in a state resembling death, only to emerge as a butterfly, completely transformed, as if granted a new life. Certain desert plants remain dry and lifeless for years, yet the moment rain touches them, they bloom with extraordinary speed and beauty. Forests devastated by fire eventually regenerate, as new shoots emerge from charred soil and entire ecosystems return to life. Animals that hibernate enter deep states of inactivity where bodily functions slow dramatically, mimicking death, yet they awaken with renewed strength when the season changes. Even the oceans display this pattern, as coral reefs that appear dead after bleaching events can regenerate when conditions improve. The heavens themselves reflect this cycle. Stars collapse and scatter their elements across space, and from this material new stars and planets are formed, creation emerging from destruction. The daily rhythm of sleep and wakefulness also reflects this truth. Sleep resembles a minor death, for the sleeper's senses are suspended and their awareness withdrawn. Allah, the Exalted, then restores life by returning the soul to the body for those destined to continue living. Chapter 39 Az-Zumar, verse 42.
Allah takes the souls at the time of their death, and those that do not die He takes during their sleep. Then He keeps those for which He has decreed death, and releases the others for a specified term. Indeed, in that are signs for a people who give thought.
As discussed earlier, the denial of resurrection remains a remarkable claim when the natural world is saturated with signs of life emerging from death. Allah, the Exalted, has woven patterns of renewal into the very fabric of existence, offering constant reminders through the days, seasons, and generations. These signs are so consistent that they leave little room for doubt for those who choose to reflect. When rain falls upon barren land, it revives soil that appeared utterly lifeless, proving that the one who can stir a dry buried seed into a vibrant plant can just as easily restore the human being from the earth. The turning of the seasons serves as a powerful, silent testimony to this reality. In winter, trees stand as skeletal figures, stripped of color and vitality, yet they unfurl into vibrant life the moment spring arrives. This cycle is mirrored within the human body itself, where Allah, the Exalted, maintains a perpetual state of renewal, as millions of cells die and are replaced every moment. From the caterpillar's transformative journey in the cocoon to the desert plants that bloom instantly upon the touch of water, the message of life following death is universal. Beyond the earth, the heavens and the rhythm of daily life reinforce this truth. Stars collapse only to scatter the elements required to birth new celestial bodies, showing that even destruction serves as a precursor to creation. Finally, the simple act of sleep, a state where the senses are suspended and awareness is withdrawn, acts as a minor death. Each morning, Allah, the Exalted, restores the soul to the body, demonstrating that the transition from death to life is not only possible but a fundamental law of the created order. Chapter 39 Az-Zumar, verse 42.
Allah takes the souls at the time of their death, and those that do not die He takes during their sleep. Then He keeps those for which He has decreed death, and releases the others for a specified term. Indeed, in that are signs for a people who give thought.
After drawing attention to the human gamete, a lifeless drop that Allah the Exalted transforms into a fully formed human being, He then shifts the discussion to another sign that people witness daily, the lifeless seeds from which He alone brings forth plants, trees, and crops. These are the foundations of earthly provision, and their growth is entirely dependent on His will. Chapter 56 Al-Waqi'ah, verses 63 to 64.
And have you seen that seed which you sow? Is it you who makes it grow, or are we the grower?
Despite the extraordinary advancements humanity has achieved in agriculture, precision irrigation, genetically engineered crops, sophisticated soil monitoring technologies, and climate-controlled farming, human beings remain entirely incapable of granting life to a dead seed. They may cultivate the land, adjust environmental conditions, and optimize every stage of the farming process, yet the essential spark of life remains beyond their reach. If Allah, the Exalted, does not will for a seed to germinate, no amount of human expertise or technological innovation can force it to grow. A lifeless seed will remain lifeless, regardless of how advanced the tools or how skilled the farmer. And if Allah, the Exalted, were to withhold life from seeds, or prevent crops from developing into sources of nourishment, the consequences would be devastating. Fields would wither, food chains would collapse, and every living creature would face severe hardship. Chapter 56 Al-Waqi'ah, verses 65 to 67.
If we willed, we could make it dry debris, and you would remain in wonder, saying, indeed we are now in debt, rather we have been deprived.
This reality exposes the fragility of human power, and the complete dependence of creation on its creator. The growth of a single seed, hidden beneath the soil, unfolding in silence and sustained by forces no human can control, is a daily sign that sustenance, life, and provision come only from Allah, the Exalted. Every sprout that emerges, every crop that matures, and every harvest that feeds the creation is a reminder that He alone governs the processes that sustain life. Recognizing this truth should lead a person to humility, gratitude, and unwavering trust in Allah, the Exalted, and to obey Him in every situation, knowing that all blessings originate from Him and remain under His control. After drawing attention to the miracle of seeds and crops, Allah, the Exalted, then turns to another essential element of life, water. It is not only indispensable for the growth of vegetation, but also vital for drinking and sustaining every living creature. Without water, no form of life, human, animal, or plant, could survive. Chapter 56 Al-Waqi'ah, verses 68 to 69.
And have you seen the water that you drink? Is it you who brought it down from the clouds, or is it we who bring it down?
These verses remind the human being that although they may collect, store, and distribute water, they have no control over its origin. Rainfall, its timing, quantity, and distribution, is entirely in the hands of Allah, the Exalted. No human effort can force the clouds to release water, nor can any technology replicate the natural cycle that sustains life on Earth. Fresh water, found in rivers, springs, and streams, is essential for drinking, agriculture, hygiene, and the survival of land-based life. Salt water, found in seas and oceans, is equally crucial, sustaining marine ecosystems and preventing the oceans from becoming polluted by the countless corpses of sea creatures. Allah, the Exalted, has created a natural separation between these two types of water, ensuring that each serves its unique purpose without overwhelming the other. Chapter 25 Al-Furqan, verse 53.
And it is He who has released simultaneously the two seas, one fresh and sweet and one salty and bitter, and He placed between them a barrier and prohibiting partition.
This separation is not accidental but deliberate, a sign of divine wisdom and precision. Were fresh and salt water to mix freely without regulation, the delicate balance of life on Earth would collapse. Fresh water would become undrinkable, crops would fail, and marine life would be destroyed. Mountains also play a vital role in this system. They act as natural reservoirs, capturing and storing rainwater, filtering it through layers of rock and soil, and releasing it gradually as rivers and streams. This process purifies acidic rain and transforms it into water suitable for human and animal consumption. These rivers are strategically distributed across the Earth, ensuring that communities, wildlife, and ecosystems have access to a continuous supply of fresh water. Meanwhile, the salty waters of the oceans remain distinct, preserving marine life and preventing the accumulation of waste. The harmony between these systems is a testament to the meticulous design of Allah, the Exalted. If this balance were disrupted, if fresh and salt water merged without restriction, the consequences would be catastrophic for both land and sea. Chapter 56 Al-Waqi'ah, verse 70.
If we willed, we could make it bitter, so why are you not grateful?
Thus, the harmony of the water systems, the role of mountains, and the separation of seas all testify to the oneness of Allah, the Exalted. They demonstrate that creation is not the product of chance, coincidence, or multiple competing forces, but the work of a single creator who has established balance, order, and purpose in all things. These signs call people to obedience, gratitude, and reflection, reminding them that just as the natural world functions only under divine law, so too must human life be lived in accordance with the divine code of conduct. Recognizing this truth leads a person to humility, reliance on Allah, the Exalted, and a renewed commitment to using His blessings correctly. After addressing agriculture in its broad form earlier, Allah, the Exalted, then narrows the discussion to a specific tree well known to the Arabs, one they relied upon during their travels to kindle fire. This shift draws attention to yet another sign, a divine power that people witnessed regularly but rarely contemplated. Chapter 56 Al-Waqi'ah, verses 71 to 72.
And have you seen the fire that you ignite? Is it you who produced its tree, or are we the producer?
These verses remind the human being that even the simple act of producing fire, something they take for granted, depends entirely on divine design. The trees used by the Arabs were green and filled with moisture, yet when their branches were rubbed together, sparks emerged and flames were produced. This is a striking phenomenon, fire, which is hot and dry, emerging from a living tree that is cool and moist. Such a transformation is not the result of human ingenuity, but a deliberate creation of Allah, the Exalted. This remarkable process serves as a powerful sign. If Allah, the Exalted, can bring forth fire from a green tree, combining opposites in a way that defies human expectation, then resurrecting the dead is not a distant or impossible reality. The one who brings fire out of moisture can certainly bring life out of death. Chapter 56 Al-Waqi'ah, verse 73.
We have made it a reminder and provision for the travelers.
The reminder mentioned in this verse carries multiple layers of meaning. It reminds people of Allah's ability to create life from what appears lifeless, just as He brings fire from green wood. It also serves as a reminder of the fire of hell, a reality that must be avoided through sincere obedience to Allah, the Exalted. Fire, which humans use for warmth, cooking, and protection, becomes a daily symbol of a far greater fire awaiting those who misuse the blessings they have been granted. The provision for travelers is therefore both physical and spiritual. Fire sustains them on their journeys, and its existence warns them to remain steadfast on the path of righteousness. Ultimately, this sign calls a person to reflect deeply. If Allah, the Exalted, controls the properties of trees, the nature of fire, and the laws of transformation, then He alone must be obeyed. Correctly using the blessings He has granted, according to the teachings of the Holy Quran and the traditions of the Holy Prophet Muhammad, peace and blessings be upon him, is the only path to safety in this world and the next. Chapter 56 Al-Waqi'ah, verse 74.
So glorify the name of your Lord, the Most Great.
Since nothing in the universe unfolds outside the will of Allah, the Exalted, including every hardship, inconvenience, and test a person encounters, they must glorify Him by refusing to attribute anything negative to Him. Instead, they should acknowledge that whatever He decrees is ultimately for their benefit, even when the wisdom behind it is hidden from them. Chapter 2 Al-Baqarah, verse 216.
But perhaps you hate a thing and it is good for you, and perhaps you love a thing and it is bad for you. And Allah knows while you know not.
A central aspect of glorifying Allah, the Exalted, by not attributing negativity to Him, is cultivating a positive and trusting mindset. This mindset is not naive optimism, but a spiritual discipline that helps a person navigate trials while remaining obedient to Allah, the Exalted. True obedience means using the blessings He has granted in ways that please Him, as taught in the Holy Quran and the traditions of the Holy Prophet Muhammad, peace and blessings be upon him. When a person faces hardship, they should remind themselves that the situation could have been far worse. If the difficulty concerns worldly matters, they should be grateful that their faith remains intact, for the loss of worldly comfort is insignificant compared to the loss of spiritual integrity. Instead of dwelling on the immediate pain of the trial, they should focus on the immense reward promised to those who endure with patience for the sake of Allah, the Exalted. If someone loses a particular blessing, they should reflect on the countless blessings that still surround them: health, safety, family, intellect, guidance, and more. Every trial contains hidden wisdoms that may not be apparent at first glance. A person should repeatedly recall the verse from the Holy Quran that teaches them that what they dislike may be the very thing that benefits them most, and what they desire may be the very thing that harms them. Chapter 2 Al-Baqarah, verse 216.
But perhaps you hate a thing and it is good for you, and perhaps you love a thing and it is bad for you. And Allah knows while you know not.
In conclusion, reflecting on these truths helps a person develop a positive, trusting mindset, one that is essential for properly glorifying Allah the Exalted, by refusing to attribute negativity to Him. The believer learns to see blessings even within trials, to trust divine wisdom over personal desire, and to recognize that every decree carries goodness even when it is concealed. Ultimately, the cup is not half empty, it is in reality half full. After addressing the signs found on earth, Allah, the Exalted, then directs attention to a majestic sign above, the heavens and the stars. Their order, precision, and beauty serve as a powerful reminder of His oneness and His absolute control over the universe. Chapter 56 Al-Waqi'ah, verses 75 to 76.
Then I swear by the setting of the stars. And indeed it is an oath if you could know Most Great.
The celestial bodies offer a profound testimony to divine design. The stars scattered across the night sky are arranged with remarkable precision. Their positions, movements, and cycles are so consistent that long before compasses, clocks, or modern navigation systems existed, entire civilizations relied on them to travel across deserts, seas, and uncharted lands. The constellations served as natural maps, enabling travelers to determine direction, measure time, and anticipate seasonal changes. Chapter 6 Al-An'am, verse 97.
And it is He who placed for you the stars that you may be guided by them through the darknesses of the land and sea.
Those who study astronomy cannot reasonably claim that the stars are arranged without purpose. Their movements follow exact, predictable patterns that repeat year after year. Constellations rise and set at specific times, marking the progression of seasons. The appearance of certain stars signals the arrival of winter or the beginning of spring. Sailors once navigated entire oceans by following the North Star, whose fixed position provided a constant reference point. Farmers relied on the rising of particular constellations to determine the ideal times for planting and harvesting. Even today, astronomers use the consistent behavior of celestial bodies to measure time, track planetary motion, and understand the structure of the universe. Such order cannot be the product of coincidence. The harmony of the heavens reflects intentional placement, an arrangement crafted by the One who created and governs all things. The stars are not merely decorative lights, they are signs, guides, and reminders of the precision and wisdom of Allah, the Exalted. Their beauty inspires awe, but their function reveals purpose. Together, they point unmistakably to a Creator whose knowledge encompasses every detail of the universe. After presenting a series of signs scattered throughout the universe, each one pointing unmistakably to His oneness and His absolute authority, Allah, the Exalted, then directs humanity to the divine code of conduct that enables a person to live in harmony with this truth. This code is the means by which a person attains inner tranquility, emotional balance, and clarity of purpose, placing every blessing and every relationship in its rightful place. Chapter 56 Al-Waqi'ah, verse 77.
Indeed, it is a noble Quran.
This declaration emphasizes that the guidance contained within the Holy Quran is not merely a collection of moral suggestions, but a noble, exalted, and divinely crafted framework for human life. No matter how advanced a civilization becomes, and regardless of the depth of knowledge it acquires, whether in psychology, sociology, neuroscience, or any other field, it remains impossible for human beings to produce a code of conduct that perfectly aligns with human nature and addresses every circumstance individuals or societies may face. Human knowledge is limited, fragmented, and constantly evolving. Even today, despite centuries of scientific progress, humanity continues to discover new aspects of the human mind, the functions of the brain, and the complexities of human behavior. If people cannot fully comprehend their own inner workings, how could they ever design a flawless system that guarantees justice, stability, and peace? Only Allah, the Exalted, possesses the knowledge required to do so. He is the creator of every human being, fully aware of their strengths, weaknesses, desires, and vulnerabilities. His knowledge encompasses the past, present, and future in their entirety. Therefore, He alone is qualified to provide a comprehensive code of conduct, one that distinguishes truth from falsehood, benefit from harm, and righteousness from corruption. This divine guidance is not merely theoretical. It is a practical roadmap that leads to peace of mind, emotional balance, and societal harmony. History itself testifies to this truth. Whenever the divine code of conduct was sincerely implemented, whether in households, communities, or entire nations, it produced justice, compassion, stability, and flourishing. Individuals found clarity and purpose, families became cohesive, and societies experienced fairness and security. These outcomes were not accidental. They were the natural result of living according to the guidance of the One who created human nature. For this reason, people must embrace the divine code of conduct revealed in the Holy Quran, recognizing that it is designed for their benefit, even when certain teachings challenge their personal desires. A wise person behaves like a patient who trusts the expertise of a skilled physician. Even when the prescribed medicine tastes bitter or the recommended diet is restrictive, the patient follows the instructions because they know the physician seeks their well-being. Likewise, one understands that Allah, the Exalted, prescribes what leads to spiritual health, emotional stability, and success in both worlds, even if the path requires discipline and sacrifice. Chapter 56 Al-Waqi'ah, verses 78 to 80.
In a register well protected. None touch it except the purified. It is a revelation from the Lord of the worlds.
The expressions found in the Holy Quran are unmatched in their clarity, depth, and beauty. Its meanings are conveyed with a directness that penetrates the heart, while its words and verses possess a level of eloquence that no other text can rival. Unlike the writings of human beings, which inevitably contain inconsistencies, exaggerations, and contradictions, the Holy Quran is entirely free from error. It stands alone among all scriptures and religious teachings in its perfect coherence. The Holy Quran recounts the histories of earlier nations with precision, despite the fact that the Holy Prophet Muhammad, peace and blessings be upon him, had no formal education in history and no access to previous scriptures. It commands every form of goodness and prohibits every form of evil, addressing matters that affect individuals and those that shape entire societies. Through this comprehensive guidance, justice, security, and peace spread throughout homes, communities, and nations. The Holy Quran contains no falsehood, embellishment, or myth. Unlike poetry, legends, or fables, it does not rely on exaggeration to convey its message. Every verse is meaningful, purposeful, and applicable to daily life. Even when the Holy Quran repeats a story, it highlights new lessons, offering fresh insights each time. No matter how often a person studies it, the Holy Quran never becomes repetitive or dull. Rather, its meanings deepen with every reading. It presents promises and warnings, each supported by clear and undeniable proofs. When the Holy Quran discusses concepts that may seem abstract, such as patience, gratitude, or humility, it always provides simple, practical steps for implementing them in one's life. The Holy Quran calls people to fulfill the purpose for which they were created, to sincerely obey Allah, the Exalted, by using the blessings He has granted in ways that please Him. Through this obedience, a person attains peace of mind and success in both worlds, achieving emotional balance, mental clarity, and the ability to place every blessing and every relationship in its rightful place. It makes the straight path unmistakably clear and appealing to anyone who seeks genuine tranquility and lasting success. Because it addresses the very nature of human beings, its guidance is timeless, relevant to every person, every place, and every generation. It offers healing for emotional struggles, economic challenges, and physical difficulties when its teachings are understood and applied correctly. It provides solutions for every problem an individual or society may face. History itself bears witness. Whenever communities implemented the teachings of the Holy Quran sincerely, they flourished in justice, stability, and prosperity. Centuries have passed, yet not a single letter of the Holy Quran has been altered. This preservation is a fulfillment of the divine promise. Chapter 15 Al-Hijr, verse 9.
Indeed, it is we who sent down the message, i.e. the Quran, and indeed we will be its guardian.
And chapter 56 Al-Waqi'ah, verse 79.
None touch it except the purified.
No other book in human history possesses this quality. The Holy Quran addresses the root causes of societal problems and provides practical remedies for each of them. When the roots are corrected, the countless branches of corruption and injustice naturally fall away. In this way, the Holy Quran offers comprehensive guidance for success in both worlds. Chapter 16 An-Nahl, verse 89.
And we have sent down to you the book as clarification for all things.
This is the greatest and most enduring miracle granted by Allah, the Exalted, to His final messenger, the Holy Prophet Muhammad, peace and blessings be upon him. Yet only those who sincerely seek the truth and act upon it will benefit from this miracle. Those who follow their desires, selectively applying its teachings, will find only loss in this world and the next. Chapter 17 Al-Isra, verse 82.
And we send down of the Quran that which is healing and mercy for the believers, but it does not increase the wrongdoers except in loss.
And chapter 56 Al-Waqi'ah, verse 80.
A revelation from the Lord of the worlds.
In truth, every individual who turns away from the divine code of conduct revealed by Allah, the Exalted, and instead embraces man-made systems, does so because such systems allow them to pursue their worldly desires without restraint. Human-crafted laws inevitably reflect the inclinations, ambitions, and biases of those who formulate them. They are shaped by personal interests, cultural pressures, and shifting social trends. In contrast, the divine law is rooted in perfect wisdom, justice, and mercy, qualities that no human being can fully embody. Those who reject divine guidance often do so not because they doubt its truth, but because they fear the discipline and self-restraint it demands. The wealthy, influential, and powerful are frequently the most resistant to divine guidance. They understand that accepting the truth of Islam requires submitting to a higher moral authority, one that places limits on their desires, curbs their exploitation of others, and holds them accountable for their actions. Such submission threatens their unchecked indulgence, their misuse of authority, and their pursuit of worldly dominance. To preserve their privileges, they not only reject the truth themselves, but also encourage others to follow their path, hoping to maintain a social order that benefits them. In doing so, they sacrifice their eternal well-being for temporary worldly gain. This pattern is consistent throughout history. The first to oppose the holy prophets, peace be upon them, were often the elites of their societies, tribal leaders, wealthy merchants, and political authorities. Chapter 56 Al-Waqi'ah, verses 81 to 82.
Then is it to this statement that you are indifferent, and utilize your provision as a tool to deny.
Their rejection was rarely due to a lack of evidence. The signs of Allah, the Exalted, were clear, the message was coherent, and the character of the prophets was impeccable. Their opposition stemmed from arrogance, pride, and an unwillingness to abandon their desires. They feared losing control, status, and influence far more than they feared the consequences of rejecting the truth. Thus, the refusal to accept divine guidance is seldom an intellectual disagreement about truth and falsehood. It is more often a spiritual and moral issue, a refusal to restrain one's desires and submit to the authority of the Creator. After exposing the motives of those who reject divine guidance, Allah, the Exalted, presents yet another decisive proof of His absolute authority over human life. He reminds people that if they truly believe life is random, ungoverned, and free from accountability, if they genuinely think no higher power controls their existence, then they should demonstrate this supposed independence at the moment of death. Chapter 56 Al-Waqi'ah, verses 83 to 87.
Then why, when the soul at death reaches the throat, and you are at that time looking on, and we are nearer to him than you, but you do not perceive, then why do you not, if you are not to be recompensed? Bring it back, if you should be truthful.
These verses confront the human being with a moment they cannot escape, the final separation of the soul from the body. At that instant, all illusions of control vanish. Loved ones stand helplessly around the dying person, unable to intervene, unable to delay the decree, unable to reverse what is unfolding before their eyes. Medical expertise, wealth, influence, and technology, all the things people rely on, become utterly useless. The inability of human beings to prevent death, delay it, or reverse it is a clear and undeniable sign that they do not control their own existence. Just as they had no authority over their creation or their entry into this world, they have no authority over their departure from it. This reality points unmistakably to the existence of a controller, one who governs life and death, and who will hold every soul accountable in both worlds. Death is therefore not merely an end, it is a proof. It exposes the falsehood of the claim that life is meaningless or ungoverned. It reveals the limits of human power and the absolute sovereignty of Allah, the Exalted. And it reminds every person that the one who created them without their choice and takes their soul without their consent will resurrect them and judge them with perfect justice. In addition to the earlier points, it must be recognized that without the certainty of Judgment Day and the hereafter, life in this world would lose its deepest meaning and ultimate purpose. Everything in this worldly realm is temporary, fragile, and incomplete. Whatever a person accumulates, wealth, status, influence, knowledge, or companionship, will eventually slip from their hands. Time erodes every achievement, and death severs every attachment. If human existence were confined solely to this brief and imperfect world, then all striving would be reduced to chasing shadows, pursuing what inevitably fades, leaving behind nothing of lasting worth. It is the reality of Judgment Day and the hereafter that elevates life beyond this cycle of gain and loss. These truths provide a permanent, perfect, and eternal goal toward which a person can direct their efforts. They transform every sacrifice, every moment of patience, and every act of obedience into something of enduring significance. Without the hereafter, life becomes a pursuit of fleeting pleasures that end in emptiness. With the hereafter, life becomes a purposeful journey in which every trial is meaningful, every blessing is a trust, and every effort is an investment in everlasting success. The promise of accountability ensures that justice will ultimately prevail. No good deed is ever wasted, no injustice is overlooked, and no suffering is meaningless. The belief in the hereafter reassures the heart that struggles are not pointless burdens but stepping stones toward eternal reward. It gives meaning to hardship, direction to effort, and permanence to values such as truthfulness, patience, compassion, and self-restraint. These virtues would have no lasting foundation if life ended at the grave. But with the certainty of resurrection, they become the pillars of a meaningful existence. Thus, the hereafter is not merely an extension of life. It is the very foundation that gives this life coherence, purpose, and direction. Without it, existence would be aimless and hollow. With it, every moment becomes an opportunity to strive for what is eternal, to rise above temporary desires, and to live with clarity, dignity, and hope. Chapter 56 Al-Waqi'ah, verse 88.
And if the deceased was of those brought near to Allah.
It is widely recognized, even in worldly matters, that a person's outcome corresponds to the effort they invest. A student who studies only minimally may pass their examinations, yet they are unlikely to attain the same level of worldly success, such as a strong career or advanced opportunities, as the student who applied themselves diligently and achieved higher grades. This principle is universally understood. Effort precedes achievement. Similarly, Allah, the Exalted, rewards people according to their sincere efforts, not merely their verbal claims of faith or their good intentions. When describing those who will be brought near to Him in the hereafter, the first blessing mentioned is not lofty palaces or elevated ranks in paradise. Instead, the very first reward is rest. Chapter 56 Al-Waqi'ah, verse 89.
Then for him is rest and bounty and a garden of pleasure.
This ordering is profoundly meaningful. Those who are brought near to Allah, the Exalted, are granted rest before anything else because they exhausted themselves in His obedience during their earthly lives. They used the blessings they were given, time, health, wealth, intellect, and opportunity, in ways that pleased Allah, the Exalted, as taught in the Holy Quran and the traditions of the Holy Prophet Muhammad, peace and blessings be upon him. Their worldly fatigue becomes the reason for their eternal comfort. Thus, just as worldly success is typically proportional to one's effort, spiritual success, both in this world and the next, is also granted according to one's striving and sincerity. A person who exerts themselves in obedience to Allah, the Exalted, will attain peace of mind, emotional balance, and spiritual clarity. They will learn to place every blessing and every relationship in its rightful place, achieving a balanced mental and physical state. Conversely, the one who exerts little effort will experience only a portion of this tranquility. Every individual must therefore decide how much spiritual success they wish to attain in this world and in the next. Their level of striving should match their aspiration. Just as people willingly endure exhaustion, long hours, and sacrifice in pursuit of worldly goals, they should exert themselves even more in the pursuit of eternal success. The more a person strives to obey Allah, the Exalted, the greater their peace of mind in both worlds. The less they strive, the less peace they will experience. Chapter 56 Al-Waqi'ah, verses 88 to 91.
And if the deceased was of those brought near to Allah, then for him is rest and bounty and a garden of pleasure. And if he was of the companions of the right, then the angels will say, Peace for you, from the companions of the right.
But if a person rejects divine guidance, or claims to believe in it while practically ignoring it, then they will be recompensed according to the emptiness of their efforts. Actions that are disconnected from sincere obedience to Allah, the Exalted, hold no weight in the hereafter. Chapter 56 Al-Waqi'ah, verses 92 to 94.
But if he was from the misguided deniers, then accommodation of scalding water and burning in hellfire.
It is essential to understand that in this world, a person is judged as a Muslim according to their verbal declaration of faith. The law deals with outward expressions, because only Allah, the Exalted, knows what lies within the heart. But in the hereafter, every individual will be judged according to their inward reality, the sincerity of their belief, the truthfulness of their intentions, and the consistency of their actions. A person may claim belief with their tongue, yet if their actions contradict their claim, they may possess no real faith in their heart. Such a person may be treated as a Muslim in this world, but on the day of judgment they may be raised among the disbelievers. This is a sobering reality. Verbal claims alone do not save a person. Salvation requires sincerity supported by action. Furthermore, the one who fails to support their declaration of faith with righteous deeds is in grave danger of losing their faith before death. Faith is not static, it grows with obedience and weakens with neglect. It resembles a plant that requires constant nourishment, sunlight, water, and care to remain alive. If a plant is deprived of these essentials, it withers and dies. Likewise, if a person deprives their faith of obedience, remembrance, and righteous action, their faith may gradually fade until nothing remains. This is the greatest possible loss, to meet death with a heart empty of faith. For this reason, one must guard their faith with vigilance, nourish it through obedience, and protect it from the diseases of the heart. Only then will they meet Allah, the Exalted, with a heart that is alive, sincere, and worthy of His mercy. After describing the three groups of people whose destinies are outlined in this chapter, Allah, the Exalted, concludes by reminding humanity that joining one of these groups is an unavoidable reality. No one can escape this outcome, and no one can alter the truth of what awaits them. Chapter 56 Al-Waqi'ah, verse 95.
Indeed, this is the true certainty.
Because this outcome is certain, a person must strive to attain certainty of faith so that they are practically motivated to join the best group, those brought near to Allah, the Exalted. This certainty leads to peace of mind in both worlds, enabling a person to achieve emotional balance, mental clarity, and the correct placement of every blessing and every relationship in their life. Strong faith is essential for remaining steadfast in obedience to Allah, the Exalted, in every circumstance, whether during ease or hardship. Such deep faith is nurtured by understanding and implementing the clear signs and teachings found in the Holy Quran and the traditions of the Holy Prophet Muhammad, peace and blessings be upon him. These teachings reveal that true obedience brings tranquility in this life and eternal success in the next. Conversely, those who lack knowledge of Islamic principles will inevitably possess weak faith. When personal desires clash with divine guidance, they are more likely to abandon obedience. Their limited understanding blinds them to the reality that surrendering their desires for the sake of Allah, the Exalted, is the very key to peace in both worlds. Without knowledge, they may mistakenly believe that following their impulses leads to happiness, when in truth it leads only to confusion, instability, and spiritual loss. For this reason, it is essential for every individual to strengthen their faith through the pursuit of Islamic knowledge and its practical application. This ensures that they remain obedient to Allah, the Exalted, at all times. Strengthening faith involves correctly utilizing the blessings one has been granted: time, health, wealth, intellect, and opportunity, in accordance with the teachings of Islam. When a person does this, they attain a balanced mental and physical state and learn to prioritize every aspect of their life correctly. In this way, certainty of faith becomes the foundation for peace, purpose, and success in both worlds. An essential aspect of attaining certainty of faith is to glorify Allah, the Exalted, correctly, not merely through verbal praise, but through one's attitude, outlook, and actions. Chapter 56 Al-Waqi'ah, verse 96.
So exalt the name of your Lord, the Most Great.
True glorification means recognizing the absolute greatness, wisdom, and perfection of Allah, the Exalted, in every circumstance. Since nothing occurs within the universe except by His will, including the trials and hardships a person experiences, glorifying Him requires refraining from attributing negativity, injustice, or unfairness to Him. Instead, a person must accept that whatever Allah, the Exalted, chooses for them carries wisdom and ultimate benefit, even if that wisdom is not immediately apparent. An important dimension of glorifying Allah, the Exalted, without attributing negativity to Him, is cultivating a positive and constructive mindset. A positive mindset is not denial of hardship, nor is it unrealistic optimism. Rather, it is a disciplined way of thinking that recognizes divine wisdom behind events. It enables a person to face difficulties while remaining obedient to Allah, the Exalted, by continuing to use the blessings they possess in ways pleasing to Him, as outlined in the Holy Quran and the traditions of the Holy Prophet Muhammad, peace and blessings be upon him. When hardships arise, a person should remind themselves that the situation could have been far worse. If the trial relates to worldly matters, they should be grateful that their faith remains intact, as spiritual loss is far greater than material loss. Instead of becoming consumed by immediate sorrow, they should reflect on the immense reward promised for patience, shown sincerely for the sake of Allah, the Exalted. When certain blessings are taken away, they should consciously focus on the many blessings that still remain. Gratitude in times of difficulty strengthens faith and prevents resentment. Repeated reflection upon the wisdom mentioned in the following verse nurtures this balanced perspective. Chapter 2 Al-Baqarah, verse 216.
But perhaps you hate a thing and it is good for you, and perhaps you love a thing and it is bad for you. And Allah knows while you know not.
What appears harmful may carry hidden benefits, personal growth, protection from greater harm, or elevation in rank. Likewise, what appears desirable may ultimately lead to harm or distraction from what truly matters. Accepting this principle protects the heart from despair, anger, and blame directed toward divine decree. In conclusion, cultivating a positive mindset grounded in faith is a practical expression of glorifying Allah, the Exalted. It ensures that a person avoids attributing negativity to Him, and instead responds to life's circumstances with patience, gratitude, and trust. Certainty of faith increases when one consistently reflects upon these truths and lives by them. In this sense, the perspective shifts from seeing the cup as half empty to recognizing that it is, in reality, half full, filled with wisdom, opportunity, and countless remaining blessings granted by Allah, the Exalted. To conclude, a person must accept and act upon the teachings of Islam for their own benefit, even when these teachings challenge their personal desires. They must behave like a wise patient who trusts the medical advice of a skilled doctor. Although the medicine may taste bitter and the diet may be strict, the patient follows the prescription because they know it leads to health and well-being. In the same way, the one who embraces and implements the teachings of Islam will attain sound mental and physical health, inner tranquility, and a life in which every blessing and every relationship is placed in its proper position. This is because the only one who possesses complete knowledge of human nature, knowledge of the mind, the body, and the spiritual heart, is Allah, the Exalted. Only He knows what truly benefits a person, and what harms them. Human knowledge, no matter how advanced, will always remain limited. Despite extensive research into psychology, medicine, and human behavior, society cannot solve every problem a person may face. Human advice cannot shield someone from all forms of emotional or physical stress, nor can it ensure that a person correctly prioritizes every aspect of their life. Human limitations, biases, and lack of foresight make this impossible. Allah, the Exalted, alone possesses perfect knowledge, and He has conveyed it to humanity through the Holy Quran and the teachings of the Holy Prophet Muhammad, peace and blessings be upon him. This truth becomes clear when one compares the lives of those who use their blessings according to Islamic teachings with those who do not. The difference in clarity, stability, and peace of mind is unmistakable. Even in worldly matters, patients often trust their doctors without understanding the science behind the treatment. They follow instructions blindly because they believe in the doctor's expertise. Allah, the Exalted, however, does not ask people to follow Islam blindly. Instead, He invites them to reflect, observe, and recognize the truth of His guidance through its clear proofs and its positive effects on their lives. But this requires approaching the teachings of Islam with an open and unbiased mind. Chapter 12 Yusuf, verse 108.
Say, this is my way, I invite to Allah with insight, I and those who follow me.
Furthermore, since Allah the Exalted alone controls the spiritual heart, the place where peace of mind resides, He alone decides who receives tranquility and who does not. Chapter 53 and Najm, verse 43.
And that it is He who makes one laugh and weep.
And it is clear that He grants peace of mind only to those who use the blessings He has given in the correct way, as outlined in Islamic teachings. Those who live according to divine guidance find stability, clarity, and purpose. Chapter 16 and Nahl, verse 97.
Whoever does righteousness, whether male or female, while he is a believer, we will surely cause him to live a good life, and we will surely give them their reward in the hereafter according to the best of what they used to do.
All praise is due to Allah, Lord of the worlds, and may peace and blessings be upon His final messenger, Muhammad, his noble family and companions.